So the question is, Tzaddik with a mercha, how does that tell us that he was waiting for Noach for a long time? Right. And I think we're drawing that from the lifanai, from the word after it, that is going to conceptually go back to Tzaddik, even though we said each note was going to stand on its own. So we've had two suggestions here. The first suggestion is that because Tzaddik with a mercha sort of gently folds in what might have come before it, certainly the search was on for a savior for humanity, and just that gentle leading into it was the fact that it took a long time, but we eventually came to Noach. Or possibly Lifanai with the Tipcha is leading back to Tzaddik, and that will be why we say that we've had this long search. Conceptually, I'm actually leaning more towards what you said, Sue, is that it's just because Mercha is gently bringing in everything that's come before it. Because I think the note has to stand on its own in order to support the rest of the parish.
Which the tzaddik or the lefanai?
The tzaddik can't depend on what the tipcha and the lefanai is. It has to be complete in and of itself, saying that this is a mercha.
But what do we say about mercha again?
That it gently folds in what's before, but it is definitely pointing us to what is coming after.
Right.
But again, it stands independent of what comes after. It's a mercha. It always is a mercha.
But still, where do you get
it's got to be a mercha.
The long time from the shape of the reading mark?
Because it's gently folding in everything that's come from before. And just the fact that this is our first tzaddik who we've met.
Although Adam Rishon was supposed to be perfect, but okay.
In any case, lifanai, before me with a tipcha. You have appeared before me as a correct individual, and you have proved yourself to be so. Therefore, I decided to preserve you. So, again, because he is a tzaddik, that is why he is able to stand before Hashem. So we're folding in the concept of tzaddik into lifanai because of the tipcha. And again, we see Noach's constant anxiety and his need for reassurance, and we see this extra reassurance that's hidden in the text because of the shape of the notes. Bador with the mercha, by the generation. Again, a little bit of an interesting translation of by the, versus in the. Your trust in God will continue later by the generation, when Abraham will appear and introduce a new spirit that will revolutionize the world, as demonstrated by the directional shape of the reading mark. So we're going to gently scoop what has come before, but we're mostly going to point to what is going to come afterwards, because we're pointing to what's come afterwards. And we're talking about generations. We're going to talk about the generations afterwards. So we're going to lead from this generation to the generation of Abraham, which is going to come 10 generations after Noach. So because we've got the concept of generation, and we're using a mercha, we can skip ahead by generations. We can move forward into other generations, because we're going to be looking forward with our mercha into things that follow. So that's a very insightful way of connecting the mercha to the word bador. Do you understand what I'm emphasizing? Alan, you're looking a little blank.
Because I'm trying to remember.
So mercha, gently connecting stuff before, but mostly focusing on things that come forward.
Right.
And we're using the word bador by the generation. So because we're talking about by the generation and we're looking forward, we get to look forward by generations. So this is a very insightful way of connecting mercha with the word bador.
But he's saying bador hazeh. Or we
No.
Oh,
You don't read hazeh.
And it's hard to get over that.
You don't read hazeh.
But okay, on the
Again,
one hand, but
word by word by word. Each word is a sentence.
On one hand,
so therefore,
you can't
bador,
divorce it completely from the other words in the sentence.
You can, until you get to the word that has connection. So when you go to the tipcha, you have to look back to what came from before it. When you're at the mercha, you really don't have to look forward until you've completed the thought. So you're going to take that word and look forward in some way that conceptually relates to that word. And it doesn't necessarily have to go directly to the next word, which is why I was saying from tzaddik lefanai, you couldn't really take the lefanai and work back and say that's why you're talking about it was a long time that he was looking for Noach to be a tzaddik. It has to be intrinsically from the mercha. The fact that the mercha gently scoops the stuff from before it. It can't be from lefanai. But from lefanai, you definitely look back to tzaddik. That's the definition of a tipcha.
So you got the.
Do you understand why I'm struggling and trying to split the hair there? How he takes tzaddik and say that it says that God's been waiting a long time for him. So the question is, how do we know that he's waiting a long time? It's got to be because of intrinsically what a mercha is, that it gently scoops the stuff from before it. It can't be because of lefanai, the tipcha, the word that comes after it, because we don't know what's going to come after it yet. We're reading forward in the translation, and everything has to stand at the place where it is, as if nothing else is going to come after it.
But aren't you contradicting yourself? Because didn't you say tzaddik, that a mercha
gently
but it's more what goes ahead.
And it's going to push forward into what goes ahead. But you can't read what goes ahead. You can't read what goes ahead until you've gotten there.
I'm not even reading it.
But we know that tzaddik is going to lead to something. We don't know what.
I'm not talking about.
We have to read it as if we're naive to the word that is going to come afterwards.
But you're saying that he gets the long, whatever his words were, long time in waiting, right? If the long time in waiting, you get from the direction of the mark, which is the mercha,
which gently scoops the stuff from before.
Right,
but not from the lefanai.
Not from the. I'm not saying from the lefanai. I'm saying because it's a mercha. How does that so much that he was waiting a long time? Because you said the mercha focuses more on what's going to be ahead.
Is going to take all the stuff that came from before. Not going to make a big deal of the fact that it's going to be.
He says a long time. That's what he's stressing in that thing.
Yep.
So it's not so gentle. If he's saying he's waiting, okay. I'll give up. Let's say that's hard.
So Bador by the generation number 11. Your trust in God will continue later by the generation when Abraham will appear and introduce a new spirit that will revolutionize the world, as demonstrated by the directional shape of the meeting mark. So again, the mercha is going to lead forward into other generations. Hazeh, of this, sof pasuk.
You know, I had that blank stare before because I was thinking about what we asked a few weeks ago or something. You know, it's almost like a refrain when he says by the direction of the reading mark. But that's not always. He doesn't always say those exact words, right? It's subtle. Like sometimes it's by the directional shape of the reading mark. Sometimes it's just by the shape of the reading mark. So I mean, he's obviously choosing his words very carefully. So when he says by the directional shape of the reading mark, it's different than by the shape of the reading mark. Right? It has to be, because otherwise why would he say directional? So what is the distinction? And so for this, you know what I mean?
And when we come to notes that have positional aspects to them as well, so to come to Klisha Gdola and Klisha Ktana, he'll also focus on the positioning of the note.
Being above or below?
Not above or below, but at the beginning, at the Klisha Gdola will be at the beginning of a word, and Klisha Ktana will be at the end of a word. So he's going to focus on that positioning as well, when there is a defined positioning to the reading mark, to the note.
Okay, but when he says by the directional shape of the reading mark, what does
Yes.
that mean? By the
The fact that it either
as opposed to saying by the
goes
reading mark.
pushes forward or pushes backwards. So mercha with a directional shape will be something that leads forward.
But everything's a directional shape, isn't it? Like
No,
everything is direction, whether it's forward, whether it's backward.
Katon has no direction forward or backwards.
Okay.
So pasuk has no direction forward or backwards. Et nachta has no direction forward or backwards.
Okay, so so when it's always a mercha or tivka, he'll say directional shape. Directional shape.
Yes, almost uniformly.
And just the shape of the reading mark. That's just the shape.
Whereas in et nachta, we're talking about the shape, the fact that it's got stability, the fact that it might point up. So he won't say directional shape because there's no direction to an et nachta.
Yeah,
but with a mapach or with a pashta or with a mercha or with a tipcha, we'll have a directional shape because that's the main focus of these notes.
Right.
And again, when we get to Tlisha, the position of the note will be important as well. So let's just skip ahead to the next sentence, number 10.
We're
gonna get to it to that as well. But I just want to show you one where he mentions the position.
Oh.
So the next pasuk, number 10, Asher with the Tlisha Gdolah. So we're on to the next page. We're saying, by the fact that it was not involved in sex deviations and intermingling, it was considered an original sample of creation, as illustrated by the shape and placement.
Where are you?
Number 10, the next pasuk. Just for you to see that, when he gets to a Tlisha, he's going to mention the placement of the note in terms of it coming at the beginning or the end of the word as well. Next sentence, number 7 to number 10. Asher.
10 in that. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, that. Okay, that. Yeah.
Okay. So
by the fact that it was not involved in. Yeah. Okay.
So we're not so much interested in the translation here because we're out of context, but we're just noting that he says as illustrated by the shape and the placement of the reading mark. Because a Tlisha has a defined placement. Tlisha Gdolah at the beginning of the word, Tlisha Ktana at the end of the word. Okay, so coming back to Hazeh, Sof Pasuk, number 12. Nevertheless, at the time of this era, I will bring on a punishing event. So this is going to stand by itself. It's going to finish off the thought. It's going to tell us that this generation is still going to get what this generation deserves.
Even though Noah's carrying on.
Even though the translation doesn't have the concept of the Reisha being more elevated and the Seifa being more earthly. We notice that God says to Noach that you're going to come to the ark, you and your family, and that's the more elevated. God is going to save. And when we come to the Seifa, Ki otcha ra'iti tzadik lefanai b'dor hazeh, that I've seen that you're nice, but the rest of the generation isn't nice. So again, the Reisha, the more elevated concept. God is going to save Noach and his family because there's goodness there, and he's seen that Noach is good, but the rest of the generation isn't good. So the Seifa has the more lowly concept in it.
So what do we? We always said that you're talking about
the Reisha, before the Etnachta and after the Etnachta.
The first is always more elevated.
And we're going to sing the pasuk.
Wait. Why did he translate Hazeh of this? It's impossible to read it like if someone thought they were reading just before me by the dinner. Okay.
That's why we're relying to have it on Jeff to help decipher. That's it.
Did we say why he says
so what he's saying is that the word zeh, this, is standing on its own, and the ha is standing in front of it. So it could be the definite article, ha, or it could be in those days. So I'm trying to conceptually take the ha in front of it and see what other contexts you could define that. And I will have to look at other places where he's defined it that way. So Hashamayim he's defined as the definite article, the heavens. Hateva, of the box. Orech Hateva.
And also in the following passage, we call Habehema, most of the cattle. Do you think that it's like in French?
So notice Habehema HaTorah from the next sentence, of the cattle, the clean one. So he's taking the ha from number 2 and saying of the, and from number 3 he's saying the.
I'm wondering if it's like in French, prenez de patate, so you're taking, although you're taking the potatoes, you're not taking all the potatoes in the world, you're taking a portion of the potatoes. So I'm wondering if he's using it in that way, like the French. I don't know what they...
Or no, pomme de terre. No, I think you're saying like pomme de terre, like apple of the ground.
Pomme de terre, yeah. Right, okay. Pomme de terre, but prenez de viande, right?
What's prenez?
Prenez, take.
Prenez, oh,
de viande, de la viande, whatever. I can't remember exactly. But you don't take the meat. You don't prenez la viande. You say prenez de la viande.
Don't be a just take part of it. Or
don't take all the meat in the world. You take from the meat.
Okay, so how would that connect to the generation of thing?
So it's the generation of this. It's the generation that had this particular sin, and that's why they're still liable for destruction.
But and it's not referring to Noach, that he took Noach out of this generation, like singling him out. It still takes getting used to seeing it in the context of the whole pasuk and seeing it on its own. It has to be a balance of both.
Well, I mean, by his translation, he's saying that it refers to the generation and what they are due, and what's due to them. So we're going to read out loud. Vayomer Ad Hashem leNoach v'ata v'chol beitcha el hateva ki otcha ra'iti tzadik lefanai bador hazeh. So we're just coming back to number 5, v'chol beitcha. You'll notice there's the makaf under the beit. So that could have 2 ways of reading it. It could be beitcha or beitecha. So the fact that there's the makaf under the beit is going to tell us that it's that the shva is resting, not that the shva is emphasized. So it's beitcha, not beitecha. Okay, so there again is not appearing in this translation, but you'll see other translations that will take words that are properly pronounced as far as their syllables, or words that are emphasized on the wrong syllable because of the musicality of the note. So we have the concept of mil el and mil ra, with the proper pronunciation or with the skewed pronunciation because of the way that it appears in the sentence. And this will be a mil el, not a mil ra. So beitcha with the accent on the last syllable is the proper grammatical pronunciation, but sometimes we will get beitecha because of the word that comes before or comes afterwards. And again, this is not a concept that is really introduced anywhere in this Perush, but some other people will focus on it, so I think it's an element that at least we should mention once.
Sorry, so Mil'el means the emphasis is on the last
Is
syllable?
on the correct syllable grammatically.
Okay.
So sometimes it's the last syllable, sometimes the second last syllable.
Okay.
And Milra is where where because of the necessities of either the word before or the word afterwards, you have to bend the word in order for it to sound correctly.
That's what Milel. I thought Milel isn't Milel. I thought Milel and Mirah is on one half of it or on the second half of it. Or
Yes. One is grammatically correct and one is grammatically skewed.
What do you mean? Like I'm trying to think.
So from Tzav, from this week,
let's say Bador.
V'yesh al mizbeach tu kadbo lo tichteh, with the accent on tu. So this is a nasoga for, because the bo is a single syllable word. You can't say tukad bo, because then you've got an accented syllable followed by an accented syllable. So you have this rule of nasoga chor, where something is pushed backwards. So you say v'yesh al mizbeach tu kadbo, with the accent on tu.
Even though it's
except
a nice, yeah.
Except the last one in the aliyah, tukad al hamizbeach. Why have you got tukad and al? Why do you do that? Because al and hamizbeach have a connection between them. Al hamizbeach is read as a single word, so the nasoga chor doesn't happen there.
You're saying it's context. Yeah, but I'm saying if you take words in isolation, words have a certain accent.
But no. This is the musicality. So the music when you're doing Shakespeare in iambic pentameter, words come out strangely.
Right. Or put the accent on the wrong
I think
syllable.
that does protest too much.
No, but the lady does protest too much.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. If you're just saying it, forget poetry.
It's not. The lady doth protest too much. So it's
that's
not
affected by
much.
the.
But when we are reading with notes. We read with notes, and it affects the accents on the various syllables of the words.
Right, but Milel and Nira, forget laning now. I'm just talking reading a sentence without trop. Milel and Nira is
but it's affected by the trop. The trop.
I'm not talking about trop now. I'm saying
the trop
the concept of Milel and Nira exists without trop. I learned about Milel and Nira way before I learned how to lane.
Correct, but the trop will also and the rules of. And the rules of Beged Kefet and the rules of Nasoga Chor will define Milel and Milra without necessarily having said Milel and Milra beforehand. It's another way of deriving it.
But the
notes define Milel and Milra. They exist with and without the notes. Agreed.
Right.
But also the notes define them, and then you have to take the meaning and read it in because of the fact that the notes did that to your word.
Right, but I think like you said tukad. Without laning, how would you pronounce tukad?
Tukad, on the last syllable.
Tukad, right.
Tukad.
Not tukad.
Right.
Right. But you're saying,
because it's tukadbo,
right.
Tukadbo.
Then it changes. But I'm saying, before trop, there is a tukad, which is, tukad is milra.
No, they don't. Wait. They don't stand in isolation.
I thought they do. What do you mean? I'm saying the word tukad. We're laning. I'm just saying a word tukad. You say Jeffrey or Jeffrey. We're not saying Jeffrey. Jeffrey. How do you say Jeffrey? Jeffrey. Not Jeffrey.
No. Wait. Everything will be a milel if there was no.
That's not true. Why? Other word. Flower instead of flower. What do you mean? A lot of words are. I can't think now, but not everything's on the first.
In Hebrew?
Yeah. I don't know. Let's see. Well, how about three? When there's three syllables, Yaakov. So it could be Yaakov or Yaakov. No.
Generally
Yaakov or Yaakov.
Generally, the last syllable of the second last syllable.
So you're saying everything is without notes. Forget that.
Without notes.
Everything in Hebrew is milra.
Is milel.
What's milel? Milel. Milel is which? When the syllable's on the first? The accent's on the first?
No, on the last and the second last.
And but the word milra itself is milel, no? Oh, that's even more confusing. That's bad
Okay.
naming, because it should be an example, like what we're talking about onomatopoeic, should be onomatopoeic, and, so wait a minute. Let's do an English, okay, let's just say some Hebrew words. Let's see. Perah, not perah. Oh, but that's perah. Wait a minute. Wait a minute, just say Hebrew words. Boker. Ta'amodna. No, that's not true. Ta'amodna. Ta'amodna. Or help me. I don't know. It just can't be. There wouldn't be a concept of Milel and Ra if it was just always the same. The fact that there's two, Milel and Ra has to be Samar, Milel, and Samar. I can't stand it. Milel and Ra are both Milel. The words Milel and Milra are both Milra or both
Milel.
Or both Milel. But Milra also sounds on the second half. Milel and Milra are both Milel or both Milra, or I don't know, now I'm confused. Okay.
Okay, I think we're going to end here.
Jeff, thank you for this wonderful evening.
Thank you so much.
Wonderful, or